citizen statesmen, not career politicians. They get in office and they aggregate power for themselves, and they get more and more powerful. And the longer they're in there, the more corrupt they become, and we all know that. And the great thing about term limits is it has bipartisan support. Every person who's not a politician or depends upon the largesse of the state wants new ideas, new people in government, and that's a way to do it. And I fully support that. I helped him with the website when we had the Palm Beach County term limits initiative, which was successful. And that was quite a few years ago, but we did pull that off. And now we have a longer-term strategy to enact those across the whole country. And what I'm going to talk about tonight is a new country. Haven't you ever thought about, wouldn't it be great to start all over from scratch again and build a society from the ground up with none of the big government and statism that rules our lives today? I got involved with these guys earlier in 2015. We had a lot of mutual friends. There were 4 or 5 young people, young libertarians from the Czech Republic. And of course, as you know, the Czech Republic is very freedom-oriented. After the fall of the Eastern Bloc and the Berlin Wall and the power of the Soviet Union over Eastern Europe, a new breath of freedom is developed in what we call the New Europe. And Czech Republic has a long tradition, actually, of being very highly intellectual, being involved in the arts and philosophy and music and everything. And certainly they're very well read. And my good friend Vít Jedlička is the president of this new country called Liberland. He proclaimed it on April 13, 2015. He picked that date on purpose. That's actually Thomas Jefferson's birthday. So he and 4 other folks drove down. It's a pretty long drive from Czech Republic to a little area on the Danube between Croatia and Serbia. This is nowhere near the Czech Republic, so it's pretty far from where those guys live. They did some research. What land in the world is unclaimed by any state or any government? And there's a small amount of what's called terra nullius under international law. It means no government actually claims this land. It's not disputed, it's just unclaimed. So there is a small piece of land on the Danube River between Serbia and Croatia. It's called Gornja Siga, and that's what the locals call it. It's about 3 square miles, 3.5 square miles, 7 square kilometers, and it's unclaimed by either side. See, they were both both Croatia and Serbia were part of Yugoslavia since the late 40s, and that broke up in the early 90s when they basically fell apart and went to war with one another. And Croatia and Serbia did go to war with one another. At the end of the war, around 1992 or so, early 90s, the border was basically disputed, and there were some areas that one side claimed and the other did too, and there were some areas that neither one claimed. This area right here, which is currently uninhabited, is claimed by neither side, neither Croatia nor Serbia. So my Czech friends saw an opportunity here. So what they did is they drove down on April 13th and established the Free Republic of Liberland. And it's basically the world's newest country. It really caused quite a big splash in the news. It was covered by CNN, Euronews, all the major news outlets in the U.S. and Europe. Of course, they thought about this for months beforehand. It wasn't just like, hey, tomorrow let's drive down to this little no man's land and declare a country. They did think about it for several months in advance. It's Free Republic of Liberland. The motto is to live and let live. It's the basis of the libertarian philosophy. Each of us as individuals, want to respect one another, respect individual rights, let people live their lives so long as they don't hurt anyone else. Basically, the form of government is modeled on U.S. Constitution, the Swiss Constitution, and the Estonian Constitution, and it takes the best elements of all 3. Basically, it's a constitutional republic with some elements of direct democracy, people who are citizens can participate in the public life. The official language is basically English, since we have such an international focus and appeal. It's the lingua franca that we use, although the founders are Czech nationals. And as far as setting up taxation, it's going to be voluntary. You know, we've relied on contributions so far, and you know, we don't want to introduce that, you know, obligatory taxation, which you know, is basically almost every other country in the world. You don't pay your taxes, you go to jail. You know, of course you can, you know, appeal certain things, but we don't want to start off from that basis. Like I was talking about, wouldn't it be great to start from scratch and to apply our, you know, most liberal, in the classical sense of the word, liberal principles to organizing a society, or not forcing an organization upon society, but to allow individuals to voluntarily and freely interact with one another. Now, according to the Montevideo Convention, which was passed in the 30s, this is international law, you don't have to be recognized by other states to exist. And all states are equal in the sense that they should enjoy the same rights. And you know, we don't want to establish a place by force. Obviously, we came to the conclusion that since no one claims this land, it's free for us to go and establish a new country, since neither of the closest neighbors claim it. So that's where we saw the opportunity. And actually, our neighboring countries, Croatia and Serbia, have reacted in different ways. The Croatians have been a problem. They've sent police to the area after the news came out. Initially, when we first went there, they didn't care. They said, "Oh, nobody lives there. You know, do what you want." But when it broke out in the news that these guys were establishing a new country, that's when they sent the police in, even though they don't claim this land. Now, Serbia, on the other hand, has actually been very helpful to us. They don't claim it. It was formerly part of Serbia. They could have said, "Well, no, that's our land. You know, we claim it." But no, they issued a statement. They do treat it as a trivial matter, so they kind of, in other words, they don't really care what happens. But they did specifically say, this new land is not on our territory. So, and it's not on Croatian maps either, but they're the ones who sent the police in and preventing our people from accessing the land, which they could do, you know, 1 week prior to when they sent the police in. So that's a statement by the Serbian Foreign Ministry. Nova Država, which means new country, is not formed on the territory of the Republic of Serbia. So they did us a great favor in officially stating that. And we've actually based our operations on the Serbian side. We rented a house over there, and we have a boathouse, and we send boats over to Liberland to come and, you know, right with the Croatian police there, we have to do it in a clandestine manner. So, some of the influences on our ideas on forming a new country, you know, obviously the classical liberal or libertarian greats such as Bastiat, when he wrote into law, that's what has become of government and the state. You know, it's become a mechanism by which certain elites increase their power and hold on to that power. So, and you know, there's many great quotes such as the one above from Bastiat, and you know, this is an example of one of the many greats, one of the classical liberal philosophers that have influenced us. Let's see here. My friend Vitt, he's a longtime libertarian. He's younger. He's in his 30s. He got his start. He's actually a politician in Czech Republic as well. He took John Stossel videos and translated them with .sub into Czech. So, you know, he took those videos and distributed them amongst, you know, Czech people so they could learn, you know, these really basic, easy to understand presentations of the ideas of liberty and how government can abuse them. Of course, you know, Rothbard is very influential on both myself and my Czech friends. Rothbard was an anarcho-capitalist. Most of us libertarians are either very limited government people or anarcho-capitalists. Me, I don't really make too much of a distinction. In this particular situation, we do kind of have to have a structure for diplomacy and to communicate with external bodies such as Croatia or Serbia or what have you. So there is some structure that we need.
Depends on the mic on. Excuse me. That's why I moved the mic.
Oh, okay. That's all right. Everybody can hear me, right? Okay.
Yeah. Could you use it?
Yeah. How's that?
Turn it on.
Right now. Okay. Is this thing on? Alright, well, Murray Rothbard, whom we met, Phil and I met a couple times at various conventions, wrote several books, Anatomy of the State, For New Liberty, and I'm not going to do that. But anyway, Rothbard is one of the, very influential, especially amongst the younger generations of libertarians. Of course, Rothbard was kind of a crank in his later years. He, he's a great historian, I think. I think he's a great economist. He's a great political philosopher. But as some of his, I guess he's a man of many colors, man of many faces. He's a great writer, hilarious writer, really interesting and funny person in person. But some of his political philosophy that was very influential on forming Liberland. Yeah, it's on Google Maps. You can actually look it up, and it's actually on Google Maps. So you go to Liberland. That's in Cyrillic script. For some Serbians, you can actually look it up, and it's on Google Maps. We've gotten access to the cadastral maps, which is the European version of basically the title office, where they keep here's the deed to this plot of land. Here's who owns this. In 1992, when the Serbians thought, well, we might not have this land anymore, they bought out all the property owners. They said, well, if we lose this land, you're going to get screwed, so here's some compensation for what the Croatians might do to you. So there's no individual owns land there. And certainly no Croatian owns land there either. It's not even on the map. They do send a state logging company in there that is clearing the forest. But we did get access to cadastral maps, which is basically the county deed office or the title office, and we know basically how the land is laid out, and that's a pretty good representation of it. It is on the area does flood. So the areas here, every 7 or 8 years, the Danube rises above a certain level, and those are the areas which are flooded. But the other ones are pretty safe. So we think we can establish a settlement in zones which are safe from the floods. We've sent many, visitors there. Actually, the Croatian police let up a little bit, and some of us got the idea, well, we won't tell them we're there for Liberland purposes, but we're going fishing. So they got a fishing permit from the Croatian office so they could go in the Danube, and they were allowed in there without any trouble. See, the Croatians have arrested people, and the charges have been really vague. They've been crossing an international border, not at official border crossing. They didn't say you were on Croatia. They didn't say you were on Serbia. They said you crossed the border at an unofficial crossing, which they haven't even defined, so they don't even claim. There's one structure, one building on the area of Liberland. It's an old hunting lodge that hasn't been occupied in decades, and it's still there. It's got holes in the roof, kind of like some of the houses around here in Lake York. But we do have an idea. We've sparked a huge interest with architects. So we've got some people who have come up with some designs. Let's redesign this old house there and make it the new central building. You'll have a museum there, and we'll have it'll be our very small government, the seat of government in Liberland. Now, when this broke the news, it got amazing response from all over the world, particularly from nations in the Middle East, which is kind of interesting. Of course, in the Middle East, most people live under a corrupt authoritarian dictatorship. So the number of applicants came from Egypt, actually, and the second highest amount came from Turkey, where they're also suffering under insufferable dictator. There we go. But anyway, we did take a poll. Maybe these people just want a free passport or something. Maybe they want to come to Europe and bypass all the asylum applications that they have to go through to get to Germany or Sweden, where a lot of people seem to be headed nowadays. And we did take a poll amongst the applicants from the Middle East. Unfortunately, the majority of them didn't really understand the ideas behind Liberland. Private property, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. They really just wanted a new passport to Europe, and for them and their family. That's not to say there weren't serious, committed people from those countries. We've got very serious, people who have international business, people who work in the diplomatic community. We've also had those people apply from the Middle East, and it is understandable that they want to leave their very oppressive societies where they don't have freedom. Freedom is actually very popular across the globe. And as you can see, we've had, even from the United States, we've had over 9,000 people apply for citizenship in Liberland. So, let's see. Like I said, we have architects interested. We've got people doing designs of how Liberland could look in the future. And we do have an architectural competition right now. One of the largest architectural firms in the world, which have done amazing projects all over the place, Haddad, I think is the name of them, are working with us on this architectural competition. And it's getting quite a good coverage in the news, especially in Europe. That's in the Swiss newspaper. That means we could become the biggest country, and that's been the president. And it says, this is how Liberland, the image of Liberland could look one day. And basically, we do, it could be the Hong Kong of Europe. The ideas behind it, like I said, voluntary taxation, free trade, just a bare minimum of laws that regulate your behavior. So as long as you don't hurt anyone else, you're free to engage in commerce or voluntary activity, and so on and so forth, because of the ideas that have inspired us. If one thing is powerful, it's the idea of a completely free country. And Vitt told me when he was in the U.S. earlier last year, and he's coming again at the end of February, he said, all the statists in Czech Republic said, well, if you want to, you don't like how our laws and the taxes and everything, why don't you go and start your own country? So he did. So that was also one of the inspirations. People who don't like our ideas, why don't you libertarians go to Somalia or something? Have you heard that before? I've heard that quite a bit. Why don't you go to Hong Kong? That's a much better example of what our ideas represent and what they can achieve. Something like a Hong Kong or Switzerland or Monaco or Liechtenstein. Actually, Prince Hans Adam of Liechtenstein is very supportive of our efforts, and we're going to try to enlist that country. And we have a young man, Andreas, who's also a friend of mine, who has received an award from Prince Hans Adam, and we're going to try to enlist his support. He's also a very big in Austrian economics, Mises, Rothbard, Hayek, and so on and so forth. We met with Doug Casey, the famous libertarian investment guru and author. He actually has an enclave of his own down in Argentina, and we sat and we had lunch with him in Las Vegas. It was some very interesting conversations with him. He had actually already applied to be a citizen in the initial buzz about Liberland. The other gentleman here is Jan Fior. He's a Polish publisher of libertarian and classical liberal books, economics books, and he lived in the U.S. for quite a while. And his English is almost, nearly perfect, and he's a really funny guy too. Actually, we saw Alan West at the Freedom Fest out in Las Vegas, and Jan, in his voice, is, General, I have some good news for you. He called him General, although he was a colonel. But he gave him like a Liberland flyer and explained, hey, look, this is the world's newest country, a bastion of freedom. So we went out there, and we also met with none other than Nicholas Sarwark, the chairman of the Libertarian Party. He's actually also a friend of mine and other folks out there. We had a great time in Vegas. We got to speak on Saturday, the same day Donald Trump spoke. Vitt spoke at 11 a.m. Trump spoke at like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. So same day. It was huge. It was huge. It was great. And we got to meet and talk with a bunch of great people. Gary Johnson, governor of New Mexico, the last LP candidate for president last time around, and he's throwing his hat in the ring next time. Senator Mike Lee, I went up to introduce Vitt to Mike Lee, and he was very excited about the idea of a libertarian micronation in the Balkans. So he was very excited about that. Rand Paul, I talked to Rand Paul about Liberland. We've had another individual. Rand told me, I heard a little bit about Liberland. Tell me some more about it. And so, I gave him the spiel. Rand came to the University of Florida several years ago, stumping for his father, Ron Paul. And Rand he gave a speech, and he was assaulted by the campus communist, Pete Self. It was kind of funny. And I talked to Rand about that too. He said, "Yeah, I have a picture of that, somewhere." But anyway, yeah, I talked to Rand about that. So we at Freedom Fest is put on by Mark Skousen. He used to live in Florida. He was an economics professor at Rollins College in Orlando. Now he's at I forget where he is now, but he's also he puts on Freedom Fest, and it's a great event. Actually, Phil's father and mother were out there at Freedom Fest because they're interested in some of the same things too. We met with people from the Heritage Foundation. And we went to Washington the week after that, and we had a sit down, and we met with the 3 or 4 people who put together the World Freedom Index that Heritage puts out. And we told them, hey, we want to be #1 in the next Freedom Index. So we had a great time there. We went to Cato. We went to Competitive Enterprise Institute. We met with a number of congressmen and a couple of senators in Washington. I didn't go to this event. They went out to California. Our California organizer, Tom Aditon, is from former Slovakia, and he runs a homestay thing for Europeans to come over to America and vice versa. So he had a reception for Vitt and his girlfriend at his home. I also arranged an interview with Mark Edge on Free Talk Live, which is a great libertarian radio show, which you can hear on some radio stations. They used to have it on, I think it was 800 AM from Fort Lauderdale. They don't have it anymore, but it is streaming on the internet, and you can get it on apps on your phone. It's a great show. They have it on for 3 hours every day. If you haven't heard Free Talk Live, I suggest you tune into that. They talk about Liberland quite a bit. We do go there on boats, and there's a group of people on the Danube. I think there was during the summer when it's warm enough to go there. We have celebrations on the river because we can't actually go there without getting arrested by the Croatians. They've thrown several of us in jail, including one Brazilian supporter of Liberland who went to jail for like 60 days. It was something crazy. But anyway, we've had protests of support in front of Croatian embassies in Europe. That particular one was in Denmark, I believe. Yeah, it's in Denmark. That's Swedish. Basically, Croatia pretends to be a member of the European Union, but they were arresting citizens of the European Union for being allegedly going on their own land, but it's not their land. So, but anyway, the circumstances under which they threw them in jail were quite questionable. And Vitt the president was arrested twice for going there, and the judge said, "Look, my daughter wanted to go to Liberland when we first heard about it." He actually threw the case out. Yeah, but he still has to pay a fine, so he's actually trying to deal with that now. So government's the same all over. We've got organizations in all these countries across the world supporting Liberland. I'm the head of the U.S. office in support of Liberland. With our 9,000 applicants for citizenship, a lot of people, so some may not be that serious. Others are very serious about it, And we've established future embassies in all the countries that we showed you in the global map. That's one in Slovenia, that's right next door to Croatia. Meeting with various government officials. This guy was from Malta, I think. we've got Vic travels around Europe, mainly he's coming into the U.S. and Mexico and some places in Latin America next month. We've got a number of different political parties supporting us. I talked to Nicholas about the Libertarian Party supporting, issuing a statement in support of Liberland. He said it would have to go in front of the board, but he thought he was generally supportive himself, and he thought it would have a good chance of passing. So we have to kind of wait on, the next national committee meeting for that to happen. So if you guys have any influence, I think we don't have any national committee members here. Okay. There are some in Florida. I forgot the one lady's name.
Vicky.
Yeah, Vicky Ryan. Communicated with her about it. So yeah, we're trying to get the USLP to issue a statement of support. We think that would be a very good internationally. I think there's an umbrella organization of libertarian parties across the world. I think we have their support as well. We have a constitution which you can view online. It's in its 3rd iteration right now. You can actually contribute. If you are so inclined, you can go to our site on GitHub, which is actually a collaborative site where you can make changes, make pull requests, discuss the wording, even the punctuation, like it's an issue with the U.S. Constitution, and talk about the ramifications and implications and what would be the best law, how to have that grounding for the basic law for a free market, classical liberal libertarian society. So basically, we have a very basic structure to the government, participatory democracy, but still being a republic. And more, there's the website Liberland.org will explain. We'll have the Constitution on it, and it will explain some of the other ideas behind the governmental organization. This is when they first went to Liberland. They stuck a pole in the ground. They already had a flag design, and ran the flag up the flagpole. So, and here's some, someone took the liberty of they took basically a representation of that land, and this is what maybe a city would look like. I don't think it'll look like that with the skyscrapers necessarily in the next couple of years, but we do want to preserve the character and integrity of the area. But that's one of the ideas and the potential. This was Patrick Schumacher from Zaha Hadid, the Architect Bureau. They've done some really amazing stuff, like this building. I think that's in Abu Dhabi. Not exactly sure where, but they've become involved with our project and the competition I mentioned earlier. We do have Liberland Airlines. It's not owned by the government. We don't have a state airline, but we do have an outfit that have donated their services for charter flights from Prague to Osijek, which is the nearest airport in Croatia. And here we're bringing a member of the European Parliament to Liberland. He actually went there, and the Croatian police could not arrest him because he had diplomatic immunity. And he showed him his diplomatic passport, and they couldn't arrest him. They arrested his aide, who did not have a diplomatic passport, but it was funny that he went there and they couldn't arrest him. That's them on the boat going there. That's Vin and his lovely wife Yana, and a copy of the Libertimes, which is sort of a kind of a farcical Onion-type newspaper, but still, it's published. It's actually print, and it's both in English and Czech. So, anyway, yeah, there's been such an outpouring of interest and support about Liberland. We were inundated with hundreds and thousands of emails. We got so many requests after too. Why don't you answer my email? Well, offer this and this and that. Well, we got thousands and thousands of emails. It was impossible to respond to them. And we got also many requests from the press, for interviews. We actually had a very great feature back in, I think it was August, in the New York Times Magazine. There was a huge feature, it comes out on Sunday, and it's like a very, several page spread on Liberland. They sent a reporter there. He also was embedded with us in our tour of New York, where we went to the UN and to various offices and stuff. We had to keep him out of certain meetings because, hey, look, this can't go on the record. We actually met at the Serbian consulate, so we didn't want the reporter going into that because, we didn't want to upset our relations with Serbia. Of course, like when I mentioned people taking liberty to be creative about things. You know, we had people design currency, the gold bit, which is, you know, gold currency, of course. And one fellow in Taiwan, which I'll say about something about that in a second, designed stamps for us. You know, one guy was crazy about designing stamps. So here's a new country. We didn't ask him to do it. He did it on his own. We've got many contributions like this. A bit. Well, we're going to use. I think we're going to use a merit system, which would be kind of like a Bitcoin thing. You'll have a wallet where you can deposit your merits and you can trade merits freely. I was kicking it off one-to-one with the U.S. dollar for sake of simplicity. But basically, currency freedom. If you want to pay someone in dollars for a service or a good, you can do that. Or a euro, or Serbian dinars, or whatever.
Or goat.
Or a goat. There are many wild boars and chickens in the region. So, like I said, we did get quite a bit of coverage from CNN and other major news outlets. Actually, that's an old photo of it, speaking at a European Students for Liberty event, and where he's actually coming in February to Washington, where I'm going up to the International Students for Liberty conference at the end of February, and I think P.J. O'Rourke is the keynote speaker for that, and there's tons of other luminaries of liberty speaking at that convention. So that'll be another event where we'll do some networking and get to know people. That's one of the boats that we bought. So the government does own a few things. We have a half stake in this with the Liberland Settlement Association, which is basically a bunch of Danish and Swiss guys who also, after they heard the news, they went there right away, and they, you know, planted their flag, and they also rented a house in the area, and also, you know, went in halves on the boat. We're sort of a little competitive with them, but Nicholas, the guy in the hat, the Danish guy, he's also a very funny guy. He's had some health problems lately, so he had to go home. So he may or may not be back later this year. We also met with people like Jeffrey Tucker, who wrote a great article in support of Liberland. He's associated with the Mises Institute. Let's see here, is that it? I think that's it. All right, well, Liberland is the world's newest country, and you're invited to check it out at liberland.org. And let me see if there's anything else I can address about Liberland. Of course, you know, we want to be innovative in the realm of ideas and social organization, not just technology. There is a technological component, you know, as far as the cryptocurrency. We have a lot of people involved in Bitcoin and things like that involved in our project. But we want to be innovative in the field of social organization. How about a non-compulsive social organization like we all believe in? Yes?
So once you become a citizen, how do you buy land?
That's good. That's where that registry comes in. It's already been divided up in the past. In the past, people did live there until there was war and they moved out. Luckily, there's no mines. It's not one of the areas where they planted a bunch of mines, but there are some few hundred kilometers away. There are mines there. How do you buy land? It still needs to be determined. First, we need unrestricted access to the area, and then we'll be able to sort of divide it up. But it's already been parceled out, sort of, and we kind of want to maintain that parceling because I guess it makes sense. It's pretty evenly divided up. Yes.
I have a question. I know this ain't about food. What's the population right now in Liberland?
Well, apart from 4 or 5 people who go in when the police aren't looking, that's 0. But we have hundreds of thousands of applicants. We have almost 400,000.
You want to join to
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yes.
I think it's an exciting idea. I love the idea. What worries me is how viable could it ever be as a state? It's about 6 miles wide. And how are you going to deal with encroachment? And how reliable is the European Union going to be in terms of preventing encroachment? And then, even past that, is there really such a thing as national sovereignty anymore since the European Union, you know? So, it's a beautiful idea. It reminds me of Atlas Shrugged, you know?
Carl's Ghost, right?
Yeah. But I don't, how are you going to get it from the realm of fantasy to reality where you have a secure state
Those are questions.
without any defense mechanism?
Those are
relying
questions.
on a government that supersedes national governments,
Yeah.
you know?
Those are questions that have been on our minds since day one, and we always talk about it. And we have meetings every week. I talk to Vid and the other ambassadors on the phone every week, and then the foreign ministry. We may have to have an agreement with Croatia, who is the closest neighbor, for security. Right now, they are providing security by putting police around the perimeter. But we don't want to be a member of the EU. We do want to be a member of the EFTA, which is the European Free Trade Agreement Association. Being part of the EU would impose a number of non-voluntary taxes, a lot of regulations which we don't want to comply with, and other things. We are just on the outside of the EU.
You wouldn't want to be involved with any free trade organization, you know? I mean, the European Union, for example, began as a trade agreement with
Right.
coal and steel. It went to the European Community, it went to the Common Market, it went
Right.
to the European Union, it went
Yes.
to the Constitution. And by the time those people realized it, they lost the sovereignty of nations. I love this idea, but I'm just wishing that we get it from fantasy to reality by providing some kind of a mechanism somehow. I don't know what it would be. You know, I mean, you're talking about rival alliances, you know, you're not going to have that, you know. You cannot establish a secure state always when your national security is at the whim of a parliament or the neighboring country.
But yeah, like I said, we may have to make an agreement. Like, if you look at countries like Andorra, Monaco, all these other micronations, they have agreements with either Spain, with France, with Italy, for protection, for that sort of like a military guarantee against invasion. But you're right. What's to prevent them from encroaching on it? What's to prevent the EU from throwing its weight around? Right now, I don't think the EU is going to help us at all, so that's why we want to kind of stay out of that. But there's more to talk about that. Keep following Liberland, and we'll keep you abreast of those things. Sir, you had a question?
Actually, comment. You mentioned that taxes are going to be voluntary.
Yes.
I would highly recommend that if you have voluntary taxes, that you restrict voting rights to those who contribute to the taxes.
Yeah.
I think that's most important. That puts some skin in the game.
Yeah.
And then as far as maybe making that small little land mass important and grow quick.
Yeah,
Sure.
sorry.
Yeah. Okay. To make that that little area important in the world to help secure from encroachment, and the one way to bring money into it is it could be a small Dubai whose purpose, you ready for this, is health vacations. Because that's a small area. If you set that up that way, I think you can bring in lots of money.
We have thought about that. We've thought about tourism. We've actually been talking to some companies. We've got that charter airline for one, and another bus company for another. You know, the area is great for tourism. It's very beautiful, and with the right infrastructure, we could set something up that would be really nice. We have been looking at some properties across the river in Serbia, which is also has a special tax treatment. It is part of Serbia, but it's part of the disputed area. So on the one hand, Serbia does want people to go in that area, but no one's there right now. There's high unemployment in Serbia. They have high structural problems after 40 years of state socialism. They're still in pretty bad shape. When I went there, I went to this area a long time ago. Hyperinflation was through the roof. It was like Weimar Germany. 1 dinar was worth 1/2000th of a cent. And I have a 1 dinar coin from that time. They've gotten it under control to about maybe 12 or 13% inflation right now. Maybe, I don't know the exact figure. It's around that. They've sort of got it under control now, but still there's structural problems from years and years of, you know, not development. But you do make a good point about skin in the game. People who can vote will have to have done something or have enough merit, so to speak, to have a say in things like that. It won't be free. You know, hey, you want to be a citizen? Okay, here you go. It's not going to be like that. Yes, sir.
So if you become a citizen, how have you started recruiting people? people, or is there anyone approved yet?
There's about 100 people who are citizens already, and each one of them have been there. I'm not a citizen yet. I haven't been there. Vic wants to do it, so people who actually, I mean, I've racked up enough, merits or time spent to get citizenship, but I didn't press the matter. What does a piece of paper mean? What does American citizenship mean? It does entitle you to certain things, but until we have access to the area and can come and go as we please, what is it worth? For me, that's not the priority. For me is getting support, getting recognition. Actually, some funny things about getting international recognition. We've talked to some heads. Actually, we have talked to a few heads of state. The head of state of Croatia actually avoided us at a conference in Poland recently, as to not have to talk to us. She clearly knew who we were. The new president of Taiwan has expressed support for Liberland. Of course, Taiwan has had its own problems with recognition in the international community, with China, Red China being the bully that it is bullying countries in the West not to recognize the Republic of China, Taiwan. So they have expressed a sympathetic support for Liberland. Also, there was one African country, I won't mention them, but they wanted 4 Mercedes-Benz in exchange for official recognition of Liberland.
Of course it is.
Nigeria.
It wasn't Nigeria, it was a smaller country. Yes.
What's the long-term plan with Croatia? And I mean, have you thought about maybe I'm not sure how trade zones really work, but I know they're around. Like Jamaica has a port that's not technically part of Jamaica,
Right.
and people import stuff.
Yeah,
so
like a free trade zone.
yeah, so I was wondering maybe that might be a way of convincing, especially the Croatians, that hey, if we have a trade zone here and this is it.
I sent a note. I sent a letter myself to the Croatian embassy about that, asking to speak with one of the, charge d'affaires, one of the, ministers in the embassy, and we were rebuffed because of the relations with Croatia. We do have legal representation in Croatia. We have talked about establishing businesses there and buying property just so we can get a foothold there to influence the new party called the Most Party, which means bridge in Serbo-Croatian. They are said to be sympathetic to our cause, and maybe a free trade zone would be great here. I think we've tried to make the case to them that it will encourage employment, commerce, everything like that, provide opportunities.
It's something in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah, exactly. And they suffer from structural problems, and we could really, we've already brought a lot of tourism to the area with our project. So that's a good point, and I have pursued that, and we're going to continue to pursue that. Yes.
Yeah, actually, two-parter. One is not a question, so I apologize for that. You've done an excellent job explaining everything.
Oh, thank you.
I really do appreciate that. I've read about this on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
And I thought at first it was like a joke.
Yeah.
I wanted to hear about land, actually brief. So you did a really great job about that.
Oh, thank you.
The other question I had was based on, maybe I missed part of it, the leader, the president, if you will. What powers would that person be constituted?
Very
or
limited.
Has that been already reviewed and I missed it?
Yeah, well, no, it's a good question. People ask that quite a bit. Well, how's it a libertarian country if you have a president? Jeez. No, I'm not saying you asked it in that way, but very limited. It's spelled out in the Constitution. Basically, you would be the head of a committee. I think I may be misquoting the actual structure, but it basically be. Right now, he has taken the initiative to do a lot of things. He's asked people to do this and that. He's delegated tasks and duties. He asked me to head the U.S. office, so it was a task that I gladly accepted and took up with pride. But as far as powers that are written out in black and white, very limited. And Vic, the current president, has said, once our government is established, I'm fine with stepping down. I don't need to be the president. Yes, sir.
Can you have dual citizenship?
I would say yes. That depends upon your home country. If the U.S. allows dual citizenship, which it does with like Ireland and Israel and stuff, I would see no problem. I would caution someone from trying to use Liberland citizenship credentials to get into a country. Some countries, such as Czech Republic, have very strict laws about that. Someone tried to enter with a passport that was unrecognized, and they got into trouble and they went to jail. Some countries take that very seriously. Other countries, you know, oh, okay, looks legitimate, we'll let you in. But dual citizenship, yeah, there's nothing in our Constitution or our laws that would prevent that. So yes.
I have two questions. First of all, I'd like to ask, there are some pretty vocal opponents like Sombor, the blogger.
Yes, that Ralph, that guy.
There's a lot of people who actually doubt, and there's a couple people other than them that actually called you a scam, and you know, how would you respond to those people? What do you have to say?
Well, Sombor blog, I've corresponded with that guy.
They don't have very many. They're not very reputed, so.
Right. I read his blog with interest. He's a German who lives in Sombor, which is the closest big city in Serbia. He met our people at a cafe in Serbia, and I guess no one engaged him and talked to him about it. He just wrote what he was thinking. Well, this is some guy, you know, he's hogging media attention. I said, okay, it's fine. I appreciated your article about what went on there. I think you were a little overly critical of Vitt and what he's trying to do. You know, try again. You know, I like your blog. I've read his blog. I read German, so his blog is in Germany. Like I said, he's a German living in Serbia. But his latest stuff is just full of ad hominem attacks, and it's just stuff that's pretty baseless. Of course, we get this. Are you guys a scam? You know, we haven't really. We've said, you know, if you want to donate to Liberland, that's fine. But you know, we're not promising anything that, you know, we're not on the table about. So in no way is any kind of a scam. It's a project that we want to push through and see established. You know, if one wants to help, they can. If they don't want to help, they don't have to. If they don't support the idea, which many people don't, that's fine too. We're not. It's about not forcing ideas on other people. So if there's a scam, I haven't been taken by it. You know, I've devoted a lot of time and effort to it, and I think it's an idea worth promoting. And you know, I think we can be a leader to the rest of the world to show that a free society can work. And if we inspire, even if we don't establish Liberland like we were talking about, if we inspire other movements for independence, movements for secession, even movements for, you know, a free trade zone, like you were talking about, I think that we will have done our job. We will have inspired people to create zones of freedom. Yes.
So will corporations also not have to pay taxes, or will you have taxation laws for corporations?
We would hope they would generously contribute to the functioning of and we do have we are announcing soon the formation of a Foreign Trade Association for Liberland, where if you have a business, like we have a lot of people with Bitcoin businesses, graphic design, computers, financial investment advice and things like that. We are having a Foreign Trade Association where you can list your business, and we will promote you to our network of hundreds of thousands of people across the globe. So we do welcome.
But you won't force corporations to pay taxes, or will you? Do you know at this point?
No.
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's any force. We do have a lot of people stepping forward. They want to invest. And we do have a Niue Capital, which is a couple libertarian guys, young guys. I think they're based up in Virginia. They've wanted to invest in our project, and you know, so that's some corporate involvement already. So they've given us some support. Yes.
What will you do if you don't get enough voluntary taxation to support even minimal functions of the libertarian movement?
Oh, well, that'll be called the lean times, lean season. That'll be yeah. Did I answer that enough?
I'm sorry.
No. You know, we'll have to, you know, exist in lean times. You know, it'll be austerity. Yes, ladies back.
What is the square mile?
3.5 square miles, 7 square kilometers.
How are you gonna limit the number of people that can live there?
There will be border crossings.
Excuse me?
There will be border crossings.
Yeah, but if somebody wants, well, if in 3 square miles, you can't just have anybody come and live there.
Well, it'll be private property.
You think?
It'll be private property. Anyone can visit. Anyone can visit, but if
But
you want.
you showed all kinds of buildings there that for housing and things like that. 3
Sure.
square miles, you can't just allow anybody to come in.
No.
And because waste management alone will put you under.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying anybody can just come in. Right now, it's being, like I said, Croatian police are preventing anybody from coming in.
Can I chime in?
Yes.
I mean, when you look at Hong Kong, there's China all around that people live in China and they commute into Hong Kong. Look at New York City. How many people live in New York City and then commute into New York City?
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about an island.
Yeah, but look, there's all land around it.
Yeah, it's free country.
It's gonna be private property, so, you can't just, come in and take something that,
No, I'm not saying that, but you have 100,000 applications for citizenship.
Yeah.
If they want to come and live there on that space,
Why not?
how are you going to limit the number of
San
people?
Francisco is 10 square miles.
Well, I'll give an example. We have a huge wave of migrants flowing through the area. From Syria, from Iraq, from Afghanistan, Pakistan. None of them are stopping in Liberland. There's a bridge 3 clicks north of Liberland. They're all going over the bridge. They're all going to Germany. They're all going to Sweden. And we've got over 10,000 applications from Syria. Are they serious? Pardon the pun. Some of them are, yes. And if they want to show dedicated effort to helping build Liberland, then yes, let them in. Yes.
Any idea what a property would cost?
There is a number. We took the average property per square meter in Croatia and Serbia. It's very low right at the time. If we get the green light to go ahead with this, it will go up, but it's pretty low right now.
And we could buy now?
No, not yet. I would not say buy. Right. That would be a scam. If I took your money, I'm going to sell you a plot of land.
I call it gamble.
Right, right. Okay.
You mean buying Croatia?
Yeah.
Yes.
Has there been any discussion about expanding Liberland? In other words, I've heard of artificial islands or other disputed territories or secession from other governments where they may want Liberland to be the spearhead, and then you would have land in various parts of the world, like the British Empire.
We have talked to some of the seasteading people who want to establish settlements on water. And actually, the gentleman who spoke to the last Libertarian Party meeting that I was at had problems with Riviera Beach with his houseboat. And they gave him all sorts of trouble for violating this or that unwritten regulation about his houseboat. They took it, they seized it, and they towed it to Miami. And they impounded it for I don't know how long. But we have been talking to the seasteading people about settlements on the water, not only in the area, but, all across the globe.
Well, 20 years ago, there was Oceania.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been libertarian
Yes, there have. And
countries.
also Minerva, which Tonga seized, I think. I may be getting the facts wrong, but Tonga was involved. It was in the Pacific. And I think the country that took it over actually buried it under the ocean. They dismantled the whole thing. Oh. Pardon me, I just wanted to get a bit but anyway. But yeah, there have been some other libertarian micronation projects since the 70s. There's one in the Bahamas that they tried. There's one, a very small one in Italy, which, in Italy, so is it a free nation? We don't know. Yes.
Given the gun control in Europe,
Yes.
is it ever going to be feasible for you all to actually have firearms
Yes.
on the land?
Yes.
Do you have to smuggle them in illegally? Or?
Well, there are laws that govern transportation of firearms both in the EU and the other countries.
Right.
Serbia has a very large gun ownership rate, so shooting is very popular. Croatia does too, but the laws are pretty restrictive. But there are a lot of guns in the reach, especially from the war. They even have Thompson, some machine guns that the U.S. gave them after in the 40s that are still floating around. Tons of German weapons, tons of their own weapons. Partisan and Zastava are big. arms manufacturers in
Might make a comment
former
on that.
Yugoslavia. But yeah, there'll be free trade in firearms. Yes.
Shortly after Czechoslovakia got liberated from the Russians, I was in Prague.
Oh, yes.
It was the time when George the Younger was getting sworn in. I was going to all the kiosks trying to find a picture with his hand up. But the thing I want to bring up, I toured Northern Europe, and I walked Paris, and I walked Berlin, and I walked Lake Geneva, all these places. Walking around Praha, I stumbled into a gun store.
Oh yes.
You know, all this free Europe, there's no guns. You get there, and also there's a gun store.
CZ is a big gun manufacturer.
Yes, it is.
Czech Republic.
And a lot of Czechs carry.
Yes, they do.
It's not a right.
They do have carry permits in Czech. Yeah, well, it depends. I lived in Germany, and there's gun culture there. It's very different than the United States. Switzerland, they have tons of guns, but it's very different than the United States.
I like Prague.
It's great. You don't have this sort of kind of I don't know. Well, anyway, it's a different attitude towards it, but it's still a time-honored tradition.
Right.
Marksmanship and shooting. Swiss are very, very, very involved with that. Yes.
Yes. Well, how would it work, like national holidays there? Like, how would it work?
It would be voluntary. We wouldn't have,
If you don't want to do it, you don't have to.
Right. We wouldn't have President's Day.
I know it's a question. I'm sorry. I was just wondering.
No, it's fine. It
You're
wouldn't
not
be.
gonna have Founder's Day.
Well, it would be. Recognition would be
Show to work if you want to.
Observation of the holidays would be voluntary, but there would be holidays, yeah. April 13th, the founding. Yes, sir.
Let's assume that this dream works out and it becomes very attractive, very desirable. Women, what's to keep Croatia from saying, we really do want this? What's to keep them from simply not doing it?
We've thought about that, and we think we'll have a much better case if we're established already. Right now, they're throwing our people in jail, they're keeping us out. We can't do that much about it. We've talked to international lawyers. They say we've got a good case. They say we should take it to The Hague. But at this point, it's very difficult to do so because we're not even there. We're across the river in Serbia. We have a few people in Croatia. But once we are established, that would be a much better guarantor of our the chance that we could defend ourselves both from an international legal perspective and also with the other countries in the region. That's why we're trying to foster good relations with people in Serbia, with people in Croatia, with people in Hungary. Hungary is only 13 kilometers north of Liberland, for example. So, but we're trying to do our part with diplomacy and establishing good relations and making new friends and supporters, which I hope you guys will check out liberland.org and sign up to be a citizen. It doesn't cost anything. And follow us on, we've got a Facebook page, we've got Twitter, and we have a U.S. Specific page that I run, and keep tabs on us and follow our latest developments.
If we take European nations going rogue in violation of the European Union, it would take rival alliances, even if they wanted to do that. That way you would have and what incentive would they have?
Yeah, those are very good questions that you bring up, and those are things that we talk about every week, how we're going to deal with those things. And we do have people on the inside, so to speak. We had a person actually in Croatia the week the news broke about Liberland. We had a person who sat in on the meeting they called, and when they told the Interior Ministry to deploy the police around the perimeter of Gorna Siga. They were, it was exactly that. They wanted a potential piece of the action, because ideas are powerful. Idea of a totally free place that's only 7 square kilometers or 3 square miles is a very powerful one. And so they probably will want a piece of the action, and we'll have to deal with that. So. But I'm optimistic. Most Croatian people are very supportive of it. Some are dismissive. Why you want to come here from Czech Republic and make country? Stay in own country. You get that. But there's everyone's a critic. Hey. So, but we want to lead with ideas, and like I said, if we can inspire other movements in other places. We met with the Free State Project, Carla Garicki from Free State Project in New Hampshire. They're extremely supportive. We want to do liaison with people like that and build a global movement. Yes.
With your citizens, you need a soccer team.
Yes.
And then you could be on the world stage.
We have, there's some people that are very excited about doing a football soccer team.
The Liberland Summer Association had that, was in the new River Games, so we already had representation in like this.
We did, yeah. There was rowing and things like that. So yeah, so it's fun. Well, when the weather gets a little warmer, I was actually going to go over there a month or two ago. It's very cold, and the LSA, the Danish and the Swiss guys, kind of closed operations for the winter. One, because the guy's health, and two, it's winter and it's hard to go out in a boat, not freeze your ass off. So, but they're going to start up operations probably in April or May again. So that's when I want to look to go over there. All right. Any other questions on Liberland? Contact me through Phil. I don't have any cards with me, but I come to the LP meetings every now and then. I'm also a member of the RLC, and catch up with me then on the web, liberland.org, or look us up on Facebook on the main Liberland community or the Liberland USA page. So. Thank you very much.
Let's just have one more quick hand for both Tom Walls of Liberland as well as Phil Brunel from U.S. Term Limits. So as Susan mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, we have a bunch of new faces here. We have even a few more that trickled in after the start of the meeting. But just a couple more announcements. First of all, if anybody would like to pitch in, we're actually going to be sending out postcards to all of the registered voters who have elected to be Libertarian voters within Palm Beach County, and we are trying to raise, I think we only need another $100 or $200 to cover the cost. We've already raised most of what we need, but we are looking for donations for that. Also, for those of you who don't know, the state convention, the State Libertarian Party of Florida convention, is actually in Palm Beach County this year. It's up in West Palm Beach. It's you can come approach me after the meeting if you're interested, but it's sometime in April. Then we also in Florida host the national LP convention, where we'll actually be nominating the candidate to run for president in the Libertarian Party. So and that's in May. You can also ask me about that after the meeting. And I think that was everything. So if you all want to get on our email list and didn't sign the sign-in sheet yet, go ahead and find it, and then
whenever here.
April 8, 9, and 10, Friday through Sunday. That's the LPF meeting. What is that?
Phil, do you have a pen?
Towards you're looking to raise money.
Oh yeah. What I just said.
Right.
What you just said.
Credit card.
Florida.
I'll make sure. I've got, I think, $3 I've been holding on to.
From that
I'll do hotline.